my friend. I'm Gloria Mitchell with good news for you. Have you ever experienced a time when you have gone from grief to joy, or a time when you felt like a failure and then later on you were successful? Have you ever known that? Well, if that's the case, then it's really a blessing to know that troubles don't last always. And so today we're going to share with you on Good News for You. We're going to share about the journey to entrepreneurship. And I have a guest who's in the studio with me, and his name is Byron Rogers Jr. So at this time now, as we are preparing to take a look at this issue that relates to going from failure to success, I want you to listen to a song. Says be grateful. Well, there are times when we really don't feel so grateful. It's like, Lord, why am I going through all this? Why do I have to struggle like this? You said that if I would pray and if I would have faith, I would go ahead and step out in faith, then doors would open. I'm expecting that to happen. So why am I going through this? That's the cry of a young lady that I'd like to share with you her story, just a portion of it. So you'll see that if you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. The title of her article is How to Stop Feeling Like a Failure and Start Being Positive. In it, she tells how I'd had a solid run of getting everything I ever wanted scholastically and professionally as a millennial. From being accepted into my first choice at a university and the top 3 choices of an MFA program, to landing amazing internships at renowned magazines, to getting my dream job immediately after she graduated from college. And she also got a dream job again after graduating from graduate school. And that's both in music and the television industry. And so, of course, she was used to having whatever she wanted. Well, that's typical of millennialists, right? The millennialist, or millennials, we say, are labeled as flighty and transient. They are known as the me generation or the Pepsi generation. They grew up in an era where the internet came alive and a budding social media craze grew. Facebook created a me now society that is very self-aware and self-centered, we're told. Well, if that's the case, then we know that there were some other things that happened in this period that the millennials went through, and that was there was an economic downturn in the year 2008. And this young lady says that what puzzled her is that she ended up landing a job in a hospital just because she needed to pay her bills. But there were some people who asked her, why? Why are you here? Well, she said, never mind that the economic recession, student loan debt, and job shortage had forced not just me, but thousands of other college-educated millennials into jobs which they were either super qualified, overqualified for, or jobs that had nothing to do with their professional goals. And so, with reading her story and knowing this young lady personally, because it's my daughter, then I want to introduce to you Mr. Byron Rogers Jr., who shares some of the experiences that my daughter had. Okay, Byron, would you tell us a little about yourself, please?
Thank you, Dr. Gloria. Like Dr. Gloria said, my name is Byron Rogers Jr., and I've gone through quite a few of those similar things. I was just over here making facial expressions as she was reading it. But one of the things that I can definitely attest to is graduating with a degree and ended up working a job just to pay my bills, just to take care of the things that I was either going toward or already in. I got married the year after I graduated college. I was already engaged to be married, so I had that I had to provide for my wife, and I also had plans for a family, and I had a lot of goals in mind, but at the end of the day, there weren't a lot of opportunities out there in my career field. In fact, I had a job lined up with a major advertising agency when I graduated college, but because of the downturn in the economy, I ended up, not only did 3 of the 4 people that interviewed me for the job lose their jobs, they ended up getting rid of the position altogether and laying off several people at that large advertising agency.
Wow. Well, let's back up a moment. First of all, Byron is a videographer and a film writer. Is that correct?
I'm a film director and writer, yes.
Okay. All right. So now tell us how you got into that field. I understand you started in high school.
Yes, I started, my love for the arts, the creative arts, started technically before high school because I was a musician, but
Playing.
I played all the instruments, piano, horns.
Oh, really?
I played several instruments, yes.
Okay.
But I phased into the performing arts on the stage in my sophomore year in high school, and I kind of fell in love with stagecraft and basically production craft from there. I would switch between being on stage as well as being behind the scenes, and I felt a much bigger comfort behind the scenes.
Okay. So then once you did that, then you went on to school to graduate with a degree in television?
Television, broadcasting, and media. That's what I got my degree in. Of course, like many freshmen in college, I changed my major multiple times, but I went back to my roots of creative and performing arts and graduated with my degree in TV, film, broadcast.
Okay. And what did you envision doing with this TV broadcast major?
Well, it's funny. Obviously, one of the main things I wanted to get into was TV. I wanted to work at a television station or work for a television company or something of that nature. I started editing, thinking that would get video editing, thinking that would get me there, but the economy kind of made it difficult.
Okay, so you weren't wanting to be a director like, who can I think of? Metro Goldwyn Mayers. I mean,
well, that's a studio, but it's funny because yes, directing was the ultimate goal, but I knew that I would have to phase into that. That wasn't going to be just a give me. I had to phase into that and kind of pay my dues. I suppose you can call it that. But I started off as editor, and as I continued to work in that field, directing is what I kind of fell into. Writing is a part of it, but directing is ultimately what I was going after.
Were you ever considered one of those starving artists that we hear about?
Well, any artist that doesn't make a full-time living from production or their art is the starving artist. But yes, there is a point when I view myself as a starving artist, still sometimes, even today.
Okay. Byron, I heard that there was a series of jobs or jobs that you had. Would you tell us, as you were working towards becoming a television producer, tell us about some of those jobs?
Well, yeah, I had quite the series of jobs right out of college. I got my first professional type job right out of college or shortly after graduating college, and it was nothing that I thought it would be other than I wore a tie to work. But
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
I said, I'm sorry, other than I wore a tie to work.
Wore a tie to work. Oh, that's different.
That's
Go
very
ahead.
different because in my mind I'm like ties, but that was my perception of what a professional was to
Okay.
wear a shirt and tie.
All right.
Fast forward, I've had several jobs since then, but I landed with a company that I actually really liked working with. It wasn't in my career field, but I just enjoyed working with it. And it was through that company that I moved from Indiana, where I'm originally from, to California in 2012.
Okay. And then once you came to California, did you try to find yourself in the movie or television industry here?
Well, at the time I was in grad school, attempting to pursue a degree in visual effects, computer graphic images, basically the stuff you see with Transformers and those type of movies. And I actually gave up on it because of the fact that, well, I didn't see any promise in it. I felt that it was going to be another degree that I earned and can't do anything with, so I left that alone. I worked with that particular company for a while, and then I went to other companies, and layoffs, job loss, I experienced it all, so that was kind of what happened there.
Well, how did you feel about going to school? I don't know if you had student loan debt like the young lady I read about, but going to school to prepare yourself for a career and then getting out of school and the only thing that you could land was a job. How did it feel?
How did it feel? I did not like that at all. Coming up in high school, middle school, I thought you go to college, you get your degree, you get a job in your field, you start your career. That was the mindset I had with college. That's why I was so excited about graduating from college, that I was going to start my professional career. Unfortunately, the harsh reality was that I would be graduating with a mountain of debt and forced to take jobs because that's all that was available. Even at one point, I had to remove my degree from my resume just so I can get a job.
I've been there. I've been there. I actually had one interviewer tell me, I can hire you. If I hire you, you might take my job. You're better qualified for what I do than I am. So I know what that's like. Okay. But then I understand that something else happened to you. An automobile accident or something happened along the way. Would you tell us about that? Something that was a turning point for you.
Well, unfortunately, one of the jobs I had years of jobs where I drove for a living. I was technically a professional driver, not a commercial driver, but a professional driver. I drove thousands of miles for a living, and I had a job, another one of those driving jobs, and I feel one of the things I started concerning myself with having a job like that was I was going to get into an accident. It almost seemed inevitable. I didn't have that fear per se when I lived in Indiana with similar jobs, but when I moved here where there's a lot more people, a lot more traffic, it was a concern. And then in November of 2015, I got into a very, very bad accident involving my company vehicle that I drove at the time and a commercial vehicle. It was terrifying. It could have been a lot worse than it was.
Oh, okay. And this accident, were you injured?
I was. I fractured a few of my metatarsals on my foot. Thankfully, they were closed fractures, so they weren't breaking through the skin or anything like that. But that was very painful. It's your foot, the base of your entire weight, and so to be incapacitated in that manner, it was a new experience for me.
And did the Lord have some time to talk to you and you had some time to listen while you were incapacitated for a while?
You know what? Honestly, God had been talking to me the whole time, even when I made the decision to take the job. I've had pastors tell me sometimes your wife has the wisdom that you need to listen. God talks to you through your wife. And she didn't feel good about me taking the job, but I live in California and I have mouths to feed. So it was one of those things. But in the aftermath of that accident, God kind of talked to me. He worked his way in my life and just said, hey, you know what? Stop chasing jobs. I've been laid off from multiple jobs over the past few years. And as a man, as a husband, as a father, that weighs so heavily on me. And I said, I just made a decision that, you know what? I'm done taking jobs because I can't afford to keep letting my family down. So that's one of those things I just said, hey, I have to change the recipe here. And God, I prayed about it. I prayed and prayed and prayed. And God said, do what you do, and I will provide. And that's what I'm working on now.
Oh, that's a wonderful word. I know our scripture today is John 16:33. Jesus is about to leave his disciples, and he tells them, he says, you're going to weep. You're going to go through a time where you're going to mourn and you're going to miss me. He said, but your weeping is going to turn into joy. So that's the way life is. There are times when we have sadness, but we're not sad always. What a terrible thing that would be if we were always sad. And then there are times when we have losses, but then there are times when we have gains. So thank God for the turning points in our lives. So in John 16:33, he says to them, he says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows.
Amen.
But take heart, because I have overcome the world. So he's saying to us, we're going to go through some things. But the good part is, that's a bad thing. But the good part is, we're going to go through some things. We were here, and then we move along this continuum, or even if there are detours along the way, we're going to get to the other side. And so now, Byron, here's what I want to hear. That after that car accident, did you have some kind of revelation or something that made you decide, I'm not going to keep on chasing jobs? God is saying, don't do that. So God, do something different. So what's the revelation? Or did somebody come into your life or something happen there?
Well, what happened was, unfortunately, that accident ended up causing my dismissal from the job. It was unfortunate circumstances, nothing harsh, nothing like I did something wrong. But I had to pray because I didn't want to go take another job just to lose it. And not assuming that I was going to lose it, but there was frustrations. A friend of mine, he was a pastor of the church at the time, of a church, grew up with him, and he told me, he said, that accident might have happened for a reason. It sounds crazy. And he said, just hear me out. He said, God saw that you were going to become content in that job. And that's not the job he had for you. And it was at that moment that I said, whoa, because I was becoming content. I was like, well, it pays the bills. I'm happy. And so when I got laid off from that company, I said, okay, God, I'm out here for a reason. And I just prayed and asked God about it. I had a lot of opportunities coming my way, just via friends, associates, my church. A lot of opportunities came through there and have really kind of, I guess those were kind of my awakening moments. They were my revelation there collectively, pushing me in that direction to pursue this thing that I am here to do. And so that being said, I just decided to obey, give it to God, and stop trying to use this to control everything and let this move me forward, because God talks here, not here.
Okay,
and,
when you're saying here and here, for those who are listening and can't see you,
yes,
what are you saying?
So God doesn't talk to our mind. They're saying the mind's the devil's playground. God talks to our heart. Our heart is what he talks to, and that's what you have to listen to. You have to listen to what God's saying to you. He comes to some people in a small, still voice. He comes to other people verbally, and he comes to other people through dreams. And for me, he came to my heart, and I decided to surrender to that and pursue it. And yeah, this is going to be tough, but
pursue what?
I apologize. To pursue what I went to school for, television, film. I am a director. And that's what I'm here to do, and that's what I'm pursuing now. I am chasing down what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay, that brings me to this point. I understand that you have written, or you are in the process of writing A short film?
A short film, yes.
Okay, tell us what it is that you're writing and then what prompted you to do this.
Okay, so I had just come off of completing a short film earlier this summer, and I was really excited about it. I was very pumped about that right there, and I wanted to come up with another short film and just keep it going, keep the momentum going. But I didn't want to create something that meant nothing. So I decided to reflect on the things that I've gone through over the years, specifically the more recent things with the accident and everything like that. And I decided to create my short film I titled Coffee. I've written it. It's a first draft, essentially.
Coffee, as in a drink?
As in the drink, coffee.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sure you will explain that. Go ahead.
So the title of the short film is Coffee, and coffee kind of touches on something that we all kind of face in our lives. It's personal to me because one of the things I feared, because I am a husband, because I am a father, I feared not taking that job again, taking another job after this most recent layoff, because I have to provide. As a man, that instinct to provide for my family was there, but I decided that I had to. I wasn't doing anybody any service. I was doing great disservice to myself and my family by not doing what I know in my heart I really want to do, what I love to do. And so I created the story to combat how we cope with change. Everybody copes with it different, and frankly, some people don't even realize they're actually afraid of it. They think, oh, because they can change something that they're not afraid of it. But the change I'm talking about is not the change that we have control over. The change I'm talking about is the inevitable change and the constant thing in life. That's the change that we can't control it. It happens, and we either can let it beat us up and take us out, or we can go with it and adapt and adjust and just, hey, this new thing happens. Yes, it's a speed bump, but God has a bigger plan. I recently heard a sermon where it said, if God can feed the birds of nature, the birds, well, of course He's going to take care of you. You're His greatest creation, and He's going to take care of that. And so that spoke to me, and this was just a few weeks ago, but I created this story, Coffee, specifically to talk about how we deal with change and explores what my main character goes through as change. And I guess we're going to get into that in a moment. I don't know how you want me to do that there, Dr. Gloria. Sorry.
Go on.
Okay, so Tasha Phillips is my principal character. She's my main character. This is my story. I decided to fictionalize it with a female lead. I am a black man. I have a black mother, a black wife, black sister, and so on and so forth. I wanted to tell this story fictionally through a black woman. And I chose that because it means something to me personally. I experienced job loss, but so has my mother. So have friends of mine, my aunts, etc. And when you're faced with that battle of what to do next, you're terrified. You don't know. You have bills to pay. You have things to go on. Coffee kind of talks about how Tasha is used to her routine life and based on her job that she's had right out of college, and suddenly it changes when her work comes crashing down and her routine changes when she's laid off. And she doesn't even realize that she is terrified, nor does she realize that she's afraid. In fact, in the beginning of the film, we see her get defensive when she's told that maybe she's afraid of change. And she's like, no, I'm not, because she's thinking that I have control of change and I'm not afraid to change anything. But as she progresses through the story, she starts to realize through actions around her that change is something that is happening, and there's really nothing she can do about it other than she's a smart girl. She's college educated, so she knows I can either let this beat me up and prevent me from possible great opportunities in the future, or I can embrace it and ride the wave into whatever the next opportunity God has for me. And that's really what this story touches on. Her personal experience dealing with coping with change, as well as we see where she's changing from one thing to another thing. And I don't want to give too much, but
yeah,
it's a great story. It's a very contrasted in the visuals. Once we get it produced, you can visually see differences in not just her, but her environment and the people she's around as well.
Well, one thing we know for sure, that change is constant.
Absolutely.
And so we cannot become complacent. We have to realize that change is just a part of life. Mm-hmm. I know the change for the young lady whose story I was reading at the beginning, she said that she got to a point where she felt so much like a failure till she came up with her own mantra because she needed to pull herself out of this slump. And her mantra was stay positive, stay present, stay patient, and most importantly, try. And so once she did that, she said she made some major shifts in her thinking as well as in her location. She moved from Los Angeles to a place where she got an artist visa in Germany. What we have is a lot of millennials, like we said, they're transient. And so she was able to sell everything and took off. And she said that within a year, she said after she struggled a bit, within a year, she says, I then got my first script consulting clients, my script ghostwriting clients. She also got a freelance gig and also got other kinds of articles with established magazines and landed her first business copywriting client. And then now, a year, almost 2 years later, she's now a full-time freelance writer. And I tell you that if that could happen to her, it can happen to anyone else, especially as it relates to artists. She's saying that I wanted to follow my dream wherever it took me. And so when she decided on Germany, that's because they are open to welcoming artists there. Many of them get their start abroad, and then they come back to the United States.
That's incredible. Yeah, I finally decided to make that move as well. I didn't move across the world, but I'm 2,000 miles from my closest family, so that's a huge move already before I even decided to pursue what I went to school for, what I committed my life to doing. And now I'm just in the position where I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do because that's what I'm here to do. And I believe that. And so I work as a freelance. I do all kind of different things related to video production. And directing videos for various types of clients. It is great to be your own boss.
Okay, so then since it's so great to be your own boss, tell us how people can get in touch with you if they want to be able to have you do some business for them.
Okay. Well, Dr. Gloria, would you like me first to explain what I do? Because I just said video production.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, no problem. So I can do anything video production. I'm a director. That means I can do your corporate training videos. I can do your marketing, promotional advertisement videos, and I can do fun skit videos if you just want to tell a story. I've done projects for my church. I've done projects for motivational speakers. I've done various types of projects, not to mention I also am a general creative director. So if you have a script that you're looking for a director and we can work together and create a fantastic project and present it to studios, I'm your man. You can contact me via my website, which is residualartifact.com.
Say it again, please.
Okay. My website is Residual Artifact. That's R-E-S-I-D as in dog, U-A-L, Artifact, ARTIFACT.com. And there's a little bit more information about me on there, but there's also links to my work as well as a contact page where you can basically brief me on what it is you're looking for, and I'll be more than happy to reach out to you and maybe we can do something creative together.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And in closing, I do want to share that there were some tips that the young lady, Joy Mitchell, shared with us. She says, first of all, if you're one of those who feel like a failure, the first thing that you need to realize is that you are not a failure. You have to decide that. So don't even tell yourself that. And then do not give up on your dreams, whatever it is. And another tip is you are not your day job. Oh. You're there and it's for a season, and keep on working towards your goal.
So true.
Then also she says, try to be your biggest fan. Even if others might put you down or wondering what the heck or is he or she doing, you be your biggest fan. You know your gifts. You know where you're headed. So keep moving in the right direction. And then another tip is don't compare yourself to other writers or artists or entrepreneurs who are gaining success at a young age. Yes, they made it, but life has different opportunities that are offered to different ones of us at a different age. So just because you're not getting your book publishing deals or you're bought out by some other major corporations for billions of dollars or selling your shows on HBO, it doesn't mean that it will never happen. It just hasn't happened to you yet. And last of all, I want to add this. Here's a great mantra for you from Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I say this from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I say this from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. Amen. Amen. You can do it, my friend. You can do it. Whatever it is that God has placed on your heart, just know that this too shall pass. Whatever it is that you're going through it, and you're going to get to the other side. Kevin, thank you. I'm sorry, not Kevin, but Byron, thank you so much for sharing with our guest today your story. And if you have a last word, a comment to someone who's listening right now who needs to be encouraged to move towards their goal, what is that word?
I would say God's got you. Trust in God, and He will guide you through whatever you may be going through right now. Trust Him, because I did, and so many people did, and it works. It works.
All right. Well, I thank you, my friends, for listening to Good News for You. If you missed this broadcast, you can go to rmcgospel.com. I encourage you to share it with others. It's Good News for You with Dr. Gloria Mitchell. Thank you for listening, and have a blessed day.
To